Sign or decline, free agent of the day, Landry Locker from the Locker Room podcast with a special guest. And I, of course, am Cody Astutes. Josh Jacobs is our target for today. Should the Houston Texans make the investment in Josh Jacobs, coming off of a down season with the Raiders where he was franchise tagged? But 2 years ago, he was the leading rusher in the NFL, led the NFL in yards from scrimmage. Landry, what do you make of Josh Jacobs in a loaded, crowded, busy free agent running back class?
Well, you know how I feel about a running back. If it's not Josh Jacobs, it's got to be somebody. Josh Jacobs right now, he has the largest annual estimation when it comes to what the running back's going to cost. 4 years, 40. Last I checked, Spot Rec was what that is. He comes across as a guy that I think that Nick Caserio is going to like. I think DeMeco Ryans is going to like. He can do a little bit of everything. I know that scheme fit talk will come into play, as well as the franchise tag. It didn't go well the last time the Raiders decided to make this move. Now, it was a different coach. Maybe it's a little bit different vibe with Antonio Pierce there. But if he hits the market, he's got to be someone that you at least consider, along with Saquon Barkley, the most complete back in this whole thing. I think she's out on the idea of the running back. She's a positional value baby. But yeah, I'm all about Josh Jacobs. I think Josh Jacobs would be a really nice fit with this squad.
All right, I'm going to make the case for Josh Jacobs because when you hear the name Josh Jacobs, I don't think you think about one of the most successful running backs in all of football. But that's what he is. He's third in scrimmage yards over the past 3 seasons. He's got more receiving yards than a ton of your favorite running backs across football. And yeah, there's a workman approach to something that he puts together. Like, it's not as flashy and incredible as the Christian McCaffreys, the Saquon Barkleys, even when Derrick Henry gets the train rolling and starts running over people. It's not as flashy, but he's a productive back. Yeah, he got dinged up a little bit last year, but for the most part, he's been a guy that stayed pretty healthy. You can trust him. You can throw the ball to him. If you have to play him on all 3 downs, you can play him on all 3 downs. And he's a guy that has been productive in the NFL. And how often do you see a guy just not be able to recapture anything at the running back spot when it's this age? Sure, when they're 30, 31, 32, and they fall off a cliff, but here in the mid-20s, usually those guys still have a little bit of juice, and he doesn't have to be the NFL's leading rusher when you sign him. He's just got to be really productive and consistent. This guy can do that for the Texans.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if they're talking about bringing back Devin Singletary or not. I would, depending on what the market decides with him. I think he'd be a nice compliment for Singletary and what Singletary can provide. I'm a big fan of him. He can get you the short yardage. He can make explosive plays. He can catch the ball. He can pass protect. He can do everything. I don't think it's going to cost $440. I think Spot Rack. I don't unless the Raiders just decide they want to. 4 years, 40. I don't think that cost is going to be accurate. I think it's going to be a little bit closer to 3 years, 21, 3 years, 25. Something like that. I don't see the 4-year deal being given out to very many running backs at all.
It's also whatever he makes, even if it's close to the projection from Spot Rack, whatever he makes, it's again not an investment that keeps you from getting a starting corner if you want to go get that guy, a defensive lineman if you want to go get that guy, a linebacker, one of these other position guys. Bring back Renard, bring back Dalton Schultz. Like, there's not an investment here in Josh Jacobs that keeps you from doing just about anything else that you want to do from a free agency or a re-signing standpoint. And, as far as this group of running backs, the only guy I like as much or more than Josh Jacobs is Saquon Barkley. And we've talked about Barkley here on our channels as well. And he's right there with Barkley for me. If Barkley doesn't hit the market or go somewhere else, then I would definitely chase Jacobs. And of course, we know that they love these Alabama players. My goodness. Josh Jacobs.
Plenty of those. The other thing to keep an eye on, and this could happen any moment now because we are officially on franchise tag day, is, does Saquon or Josh Jacobs get tagged? I was talking to Q Myers out there who hosts and runs the Raiders station out there in Las Vegas. And I asked him, what's up with Josh Jacobs? What's up with your boy? And he basically said he likes Antonio Pierce. I said, "Oh, do you think they franchise tagged him?" He said, "Well, I just don't see that going very well for him because they didn't do it last time." So maybe they do, and then they decide to work out some sort of deal. But the unfortunate thing about these two top running backs, and it seems like it's Saquon Jacobs at the top, is they could end up getting franchise tagged, and they could just ruin the relevance of this video. The case against for Josh Jacobs, for me, I think you kind of you just mentioned it. Do you think he's going to wear down or not? How many years is it going to take? Is he explosive enough? All that system fit crap. Does Bobby Slowik like him?
Does potential next offensive coordinator Gerard Johnson like him?
Yeah. Do either one of these guys like, who do they like? Because there's one thing I know for sure that's going on with the Texans as they start having these conversations. I don't even know that they really have to have them just yet, but the next week or two, someone's going to be pounding the table for a running back, and there's going to be like a discussion. Like, this is not going to be this is going to be similar to when you're evaluating quarterbacks in the draft. They know how important it is, and whatever their philosophy is, whoever it is, someone's going to have a passionate opinion about the running back. The interesting thing for me is, I wonder if it's more of a Slowik thing than a DeMeco thing at this point. And if Bobby Slowik has the highest say in what goes on with the at the running back position.
With Jacobs, it's easy to live with sort of the down year after a big year when he's not making a whole bunch of money. But this past season, when he was making a lot more money than he had been making, and he has a big drop off from leading rusher in the NFL to not even 1,000 yards, that's kind of hard to stomach. So the past couple of seasons, when he's gone over 1,000, the next year he's had a big drop off the following season. So I do wonder if that's just a getting used to durability thing. Obviously, the Raiders have kind of been an up and down weird team. You would think the Texans have a little bit more consistency, so he could handle that. So I certainly, wonder about his consistency. Look, the stats, when you slam it all together over the past 3 seasons, he's really productive. But when you actually look at which season it was where he was productive, I mean, he saw his yards per game drop by, almost 30 yards per game this past season. Like, yes, I know the Raiders stunk, but that's really bad. Last time he had 1,000, he saw it drop by like 20 yards per game the following season. So the consistency, you're going to use him. The consistency is a question for me. And you talked about maybe bringing Singletary back with him. If Singletary wasn't on board with that, or you couldn't get Singletary back, I don't know if there's a running back complement that I feel really good about with Jacobs, because he missed a couple games last year. You would want a backup that you feel pretty good about. So I wonder if maybe an investment in Jacobs, you don't want to invest too much into the running back room from that standpoint. And so maybe an investment there in him keeps you from having a solid backup, and the lack of consistency maybe scares you away there. That's sort of the case against Jacobs, but he's one of the best running backs in free agency. And it's a pretty, compared to some other years, it's a pretty weak running back class to me. I mean, the top running back's probably Brooks out of Texas, and we don't know if he can help you that much this season with the knee injury that he suffered last year. What's the verdict here, Landry Locker of the Locker Room here on YouTube? I'm Cody Stutes. What's the verdict on Josh Jacobs?
I'm good with it. If that's the running back they end up liking, I'm good with Josh Jacobs. I'm good with him. I'm good with Saquon. I'm really good with Derrick Henry. I'm good with whatever they decide at running back. I remember the last time I wanted Josh Jacobs, he went the pick after their first round pick in 2019. They had the 23rd overall selection, which they do this year. They went with Titus Howard. Josh Jacobs went the very next pick. So I'm good with Josh Jacobs. I like Josh Jacobs. I'm intrigued to see what they think of Josh Jacobs. Hell, I'm intrigued to see what the Raiders think of Josh Jacobs and whether or not they franchise tag him. But if they decide on Josh Jacobs, okay.
I'm thumbs up as well. I would sign Josh Jacobs. I believe he's going to be a productive back for the next few seasons, and that's what you need out of a free agent addition to the level of Josh Jacobs, is a productive guy, a guy that brings something to the table. And I just like that he can catch the ball out of the backfield better than some of these other options that are there in free agency. It's not quite that dynamic, awesome Christian McCaffrey, Saquon, Austin Eckler, who's really good at receiving out of the backfield. It's not quite that level, but it's better than a lot of guys when you throw the ball to Josh Jacobs. He can get it done. And so I would give the thumbs up, and I'd say sign on this one. Him and Barkley are kind of interchangeable for me. I think we're both kind of arrived there, but we want the investment in the running back. That's sign or decline on Josh Jacobs. That's Landry Locker, the Locker Room here on YouTube. Make sure to follow him. I'm Cody Stutz. More coming for you as free agency is less than 3 weeks away now. More coming for you. Sign and decline each and every day.